Let's take a moment and look at a few review questions regarding the topic of local password storage on Cisco routers, starting with question number 1. And here it is. What type of encryption is used to store a line password by default? Examples of that would be line VTY 0 through 4, line auxiliary 0, line console 0, and so forth. And if you're saying, Keith, that is no encryption whatsoever. And if you've done some hands-on practice with that, when you look at the running config, it just shows up with the plain text password right there. And that includes the enable password command and the line passwords on VTY lines, console lines, and auxiliary lines by default. All right, question number 2. What does the command service password-encryption do to your configuration? So let's rule out what it does not do. It does not encrypt using a type 5, so that one's out. It doesn't encrypt using a type 9, so that's out. Answer B reads, encrypts existing and future plain text passwords using a type 7, and that is actually true. So existing line passwords and existing plain text passwords will get the encryption light, I like to call it, of type 7. And because that command is in the configuration, service password encryption, anytime you add a future plain text password, it will automatically convert it to a type 7 in the config. So answer B is spot on. Let's do one more. And here's question number 3. Which line or lines have a login requirement? The key part here is by default. So choose all here that are applicable. So regarding login requirements for access to the router, the line console 0 does not require a login. It'll let you just connect. And line auxiliary 0 also by default has no login requirement. It was line VTY 0 through 4 by default that had that keyword login in the config, implying login is required, but the problem was there was no password, which made it impossible to use it until you do some additional configuration. So the answer here is line VTY 0 through 4 has a login requirement by default. And before we go, let me also chat with you about one more thing. One more thing regarding enable secrets and enable passwords. Of course, we do not want to have an enable password, the literal command in our config, because the command is going to store the password in plain text, or with service password encryption, you get encryption light. Either way, it's a bad idea. So what happens though if a router or a switch does have both present? It's got an enable secret configured and an enable password configured. They're both there. Which one's going to win? And the answer is, if they're both configured, and they're both on the system, only the enable secret will get you into privilege level 15. So if they're both present, the enable secret wins, and the enable password is sitting there in the background. Oh, I guess I'm not used until the enable secret goes away. So that's an important tip to be aware of as well as you work with local passwords on a Cisco device. So I'm glad that you joined me in these videos regarding local passwords, and I'll see you in the next video. Meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.